Good afternoon, Sangha. If you are here with us today live, please silence your phones, and if you are at home, please mute your microphones. We have the following retreats coming up: Practicing with Karma with John Orr, July 14th through 18th. A Day of Mindfulness with Abhya Darpana, July 31st. The Liberating Teachings of the Buddha with Annie Nugent, August 12th through 15th, 2021. Venerable Panawati is offering a book study. The class is each Thursday at 5 p.m. The book is Learning from the Buddha by Buddha Master His Holiness Dorje Shang Buddha III. If you're interested in joining, please visit the retreat page on our website and select the book study option. The Novena prayers are occurring monthly every third Thursday. Please send your confidential prayer requests for yourself, your loved ones, including pets who are sick, suffering, misfortunate, or departed, to prayer@heartwoodrefuge.org. Fully vaccinated Sangha members are invited to join Heartwood for Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday Dharma, as well as the Thursday book study. Please like, follow, and share Heartwood and Thrifty Treasures on all social media to help spread the Dharma and further Heartwood's mission. If you wish to donate to Heartwood, you can do so by visiting the Heartwood website and clicking the donate button. You can also support us through Amazon via our wish list or choosing Heartwood or Amazon Smile. Thank you.
So I feel like a song this morning. I just sprung it on, so sorry.
I'm broken gracefully, I'm strong and I am weak.
I'm right here, pouring out my life, and I'm gracefully broken. Thank you. I don't know. I just had I had a pressure cooker one time, and I was so happy. You know, up at the store, everybody's buying these. It's an Instapot craze, you know, and they have the 11 in one, the 9 in one, and the 6 in one, and it makes bread, and it cooks rice, and it makes yogurt, and it, you know, it does all of these things, you know, and people are coming in and buying. But I had a pressure cooker one time, and I was cooking greens in it, and I don't know, I didn't fasten the lid in the right way or unfasten the lid in the right way. All I know is the thing exploded and the greens were up on the ceiling. So my husband came home and he took the pot and threw it outside. And that was like around 1975. And it's amazing how, you know, you can have an experience and it just carries on with you in your mind. And I never had one, a pressure cooker since that time, and never even wanted one. So I like to take the old-fashioned slow cook method, you know. And people are coming in and they're talking about this pot, so I might even like just try it. But I marvel at how we can have an experience that defines that we allow to define our future for decades. And it's the one thing that the Buddha is trying to get us to come to terms with, that our thoughts, we are not our thoughts, number one, and our thoughts don't have to define our future, and our past does not have to define our future. And when we hold on to the past, we bring it into the present and we carry it forward into the future. So it's not like a future is unfolding. We are creating it. We are creating that future with our thoughts from the past. And if you keep thinking the things you've always thought, you'll have the same things you've always had. And the question is that enough? And so there's an impotence that comes in our life through the ways that we hold our mind and call it intelligent. The way that we hold our thoughts and allow them to color and project into and create our future. And so if I were to take one thing from the Dharma today that I think is almost the epitome of the teachings, it's that we create our reality. And if we don't like, you know, what we're seeing, you can say yes, but those things are really happening out there. And in fact, they are happening out there. But because we cannot control anybody else's actions, we can only control our response to it. He talks about a process of enlightenment that takes us beyond the ordinary appearances of what we see and hear and think. And we find even in this Saha world that we can live in a certain kind of peace and joy even in the midst of conflict, and that is the overcoming power. If I were to get upset with or even try to fight against everything that comes against me that I think is unfair, I would live a life of complete suffering. But because I can change my mind about how I look at it or how I hold it or how I think about it, I have an opportunity to create how I will be, how I will walk, and how I will receive the world today. And so he takes us from a mere explanation of something or a conceptualization of life, and he points us to how to walk in it every day so that it has something to offer us, and ergo, we have something to offer the world. Because we're all offering the world whatever we think we have. So people who are angry or who are violent or who are depressed or who are sad, they're offering the world that which they think they have, that which speaks of them from their own side, how they look and see themselves, how they look and understand the world, and what they think about others. And if we have the same thing, then what's the difference? What do we bring? What ingredient do we bring that can leaven that bread? What do we bring to the moment that can actually make it better? Yeah, we could talk about like how bad it is, but does that do anything about making it better? And so he says we should be careful how we think. He didn't even say what. It's not so much a matter of what. What is actually comes behind the how. He said we should question, how did this thought come about? And that takes us to a direct challenge, because generally we think thoughts based on how things appear to us, how we see things, or how we hear things, or how we have already experienced something. And when we project that hindsight and make it foresight, then we fail to receive the ready available wisdom that will give us insight. So there's all of this talk about how about mindfulness and insight, you know, and insight as a technique, insight as a method. But actually, the Buddha prescribed trainings, methods, and pointed to objects that would support the unveiling of reality in our life that would produce insight. So insight is a fruit. It's the fruit of something. It's the fruit of right practice. It's the fruit of cultivation. We can't practice insight. That's what I'm saying. So I'm sort of in a quandary right now, you know, as we're vamping back up for our retreats, and predominantly in the West. You know, we have insight retreats, and people sit and walk and sit and walk and sit and walk, and they come with a particular mind, and we have an hour, not we, because I don't do them, but we have an hour of like a Dharma introduction, and then we give instructions for walking and sitting all day. And I watch people like pressing in really strongly, trying to do their insight practice. And my quandary is that I don't even support that methodology. If you haven't read this book, all of you serious practitioners, by Bhikkhu Sujato, it's a history of mindfulness, how insight worsted tranquility in the Satipatthana Sutta, a history of mindfulness. And it will really clarify something for you. I mean, I would suggest, I mean, I'm only talking about if you want to attain the uncommon insight that the Buddha promised. If you want to be confronted and affronted with true wisdom, it's very difficult to deconstruct something without there being an active ingredient to break down our illusion. And so we need a catalyst. And the Buddha helps us to provide a catalyst for breaking down the erroneous conceptions in our own minds. And in this breaking down, it also breaks down the anxiety, the depression, the anger, the fear, the trepidation, the confusion that comes with those structures of appearances that we have built in our, when I say in our ignorance, I don't mean stupidity. Of course, my master would call it stupidity, but I won't. But in our not knowing, that's what I mean, in our not knowing. And it's like scales fall from your eyes when we're ready to surrender that we do know in order to apprehend what is not readily apparent to us in this particular situation or in this particular moment. It also widens our vision, our scope, our field of understanding so that we can see what wasn't so readily apparent. So I had a challenge in the store today. You know, most people use credit cards, and it said network not working. Like however it said it, it meant that, you know, it wasn't connecting with the credit cards. And I watched the line get longer and longer, and I was there with a fellow worker in the store, and my register wasn't working. He doesn't even know how to work a register, and he was on the other one messing that one up. I said, you need to leave that alone, you know. And so there were the two of us, Mutt and Jeff. And and so I threw out an SOS, and Santikara called me, and he kind of worked me through it, an alternative. But I felt so impotent at the moment. So one lady said, oh, I'm having a party this afternoon. These are the perfect dishes. And she came running up, you know, and I didn't know how, I couldn't ring her up because I couldn't make her credit card work. So another lady comes in, she has this linen, and she said, I've been looking for this color of blue. I couldn't ring her up because she was paying by credit card. I said, okay, so I'm going to just close the store, you know, because then the customers won't be frustrated. And then Santikara called me, and he helped me to do something, put a hot spot on something so that I could bring things up. But by the time he got the message and did that, the people who were charging had said, you know, I'll go to the money movement. I'll be right back. So you know what that means. That means I won't be back today. You know, because once you get out the store, if you don't have it then rarely do you come come back to get it. And I was sitting there feeling impotent, basically, and saying, how come I don't know how to troubleshoot? I tell you, I will by tomorrow. I will know how to troubleshoot that cash register when it goes down, or either the next day we'll just have a manual one, and we'll just get a square like everybody else. We have a really fancy, highfalutin one, but you got to be technologically savvy, to keep it working. That's why, those things aren't always the best for everybody, especially if you're 71. So, but as I got in the car, so Tokum was on her way up, and Tokum can kind of work through some of these things. So I was glad that she was there to take over for me so that I could come here. And as I got in the car, I started thinking, I turned my mind from that job, because it doesn't matter to me what my job is in the moment. I don't care whether I'm giving a Dharma talk, I don't care whether I'm opening boxes during the set, I don't care whether I'm cleaning toilets for guests to come for retreat. I mean, I don't really care, so long as it's something that supports the Dharma. So you could ask me to do anything, and it's fine with me if it's supporting the Dharma. I don't have like certain tasks that I do and certain things that other people do. And as I got in the car, I turned my mind from my inadequacy, to the Dharma and how excellent the Dharma is. And that although I have frailties and I have failings, that the Dharma never fails. And suddenly I was like totally all right. I couldn't fix the day. I couldn't make it any different because the conditions had already been set in place. The condition meaning I've known that the register has, jumped off of the internet before, but I like somebody will fix it. Not thinking there would be the time there when I would be alone and I had to fix it. So I accepted full responsibility for that. That I had set up that condition. There's no way that condition could have presented itself except the causes were in motion. And the minute that realization came to me, I'm thinking, how could it be any other way? How could it have been any other way? Not thinking about, well, it didn't have to go out or whatever the problem. The fact is, I know that from time to time it goes out, and I rely on somebody to just get it back. So it was inevitable that there would be the time that it would go out when I'm there at the register and alone. And the moment that my mind changed in that way, and I'm telling you, that's an insight. Because it utterly destroys the illusion or delusion that it's somebody else's fault, that it's happenstance, that it's a fluke, that it just, all of the conditions come together and you can just see it so clearly. So when anything surfaces in our life, we can take that approach will help us if we allow it to. Some things we know are inevitable, but we think it won't happen today. I was talking with Sister Soma yesterday, and you notice I have my mask on because we got a call from Maureen, one of our Sangha members. She spends half the year here and half the year at home in Missouri with her husband, and she called to ask us to pray for her family. Her son and his wife, her daughter and her husband, and their 10 employees, store employees, and that they all have COVID and 4 are in the hospital. And she says, you know, we're here in Missouri, and this is like COVIDville, because nobody wants to vaccinate or wear masks or anything. And so now 14, I mean, basically their whole store, it's only 2 employees out of the 16 that have not come down with COVID. So I'm back to wearing my mask. That's all I'm saying. I'm back to wearing my mask in the store as a protection, you know, in the store, but also for when I leave the store as a protection for my friends. So I'd like to ask you if you take a shift in the store. Well, I know Akachamani said she never took her mask off. She said, y'all can go without mask if you want to, okay? But I'm keeping mine on. So it's not just a matter of us not getting it, but maybe not passing it on to someone, you know, and just being more aware and cognizant that we don't know the whole story of everything around that, and we have to keep looking and keep reconsidering what might be the best measures to take. The more we learn about things, and the more things change or more. But do keep Maureen and Richard. So she doesn't have it, Maureen herself, but she's on a 2 or 3 week quarantine, just in case. So I was talking with Soma last night, and after Maureen called to tell us what was going on, and I was thinking about death. And I said, you know, by the time Panyadeepa dies, I'll be so used to him being dead, because I bury him every day. Almost. I do. I looking at the inevitable, and rather than lamenting over the gradual decline, you know, I just simply accept the decline. And how we got into that conversation is because I was watching something on TV for people who are losing their memory. I'm like, that's me. For people who are short-term memory loss, more energy. I mean, and this product sounds fantastic for $70 a bottle for people 60 and over, or something like that, you know. And if you had listened to that commercial, you would have wanted to run right out, pull your credit card out and order this product, because it gave you more life, it gave you more vitality, and you heard all the stories. I said, you know what? I'm happy with it like it is. You know, I see some beauty in the ugly. I don't want to be vamped up or ramped up any more than I am. I mean, I can accept a gradual decline. It's natural. It's natural for my lifestyle, at least. And there's something so accepting about that. So if I forget, somebody remind me, or never mind. You know, it's not so important for me to appear sharp. It's not so important for me to even be sharp. I only need that kind of sharpness in this world, and I'm about to leave it. So, you know, I'm reevaluating what is meaningful to me right here, right now, in this life, where I am with what I want to accomplish, not what the world says I should accomplish, not what our country says I should accomplish, not what, you know, you say I should accomplish, but just for me. What is it that I want to accomplish? And it helps us to be with the moment as it is. Mindfulness is always tied to something. What is your mindfulness tied to? I tell you, please don't try to master it as a technique. But it's the fruit of how you put together cause and conditionality. It's the basis of our understanding. And without that, nothing else we do will take us where we want to go. So the Buddha suggests that we certainly think about things before we say it or before we do it. He even said to think about things before you think it. And I had to think about that one for a long time. Like, how do you think about something before you think about it? But I like the way he catches us in a certain way. Because he talks about how to lean or incline one's mind in a certain direction. And that's what causes us to think certain things or think certain ways in the future, by inclining our mind in a certain way. And then it will create thoughts that are in line with how we've been inclining our mind. That's how you think about a thing before you think about it. So if something rises up in my mind, it gives me an indication of what I've been leaning towards in my thoughts. It shows out. No, when it shows up, it shows out. And he said to think about it and to reflect upon it while you're saying something. Like, so while I'm talking right now, it's hard to talk and reflect at the same time. It takes some practice. That's why a lot of times I'll be speaking and I'm reflecting while I'm talking. I'll stop. Because the check comes right then. You know, it says, not now. But it says, wrong way. Switch it up and go in that direction. So it's very hard to come and get a crafted or a canned speech. Or even for me to know exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, I generally have some idea, but I don't know exactly. Because I'm trying to stay open and present to the insight that's unfolding right at this moment. A particular person needs to hear a particular thing. Paniwadi doesn't know what that is. But it's only by having a certain openness to receive the incoming stream that I can utter something. And then he says to think about it after You said it. Reflect after you said it. And I love this kind of training, because it allows me, not makes me, it allows me to be responsible for myself. To be responsible for my own life, to be responsible for my own thoughts, to be responsible for my own speech, to be responsible for my own actions. And then I don't have to blame it on you. I can't blame it on you. I feel free of you. I feel free of the things my mother said about me that my father didn't do for me. Well, I don't know why I said that, because he did everything I could think of. But suppose somebody's got a father who didn't, and this goes for you too. But what my, how my siblings treated me, how my teachers talked about me, how my, whoever in your life said something that hurt your feelings, or that was true but didn't need to be said, or that was not true, but that was their perception, or that was just hurtful. It sets me free from all of that, because in every moment I am trying to practice. And he said that we do that off the pillow. On the pillow, he said, I call that a pleasant abiding. But off the pillow, we practice. So that's a 24/7 kind of active engagement with the moment and with what my thoughts are about the moment, having been informed by who I considered my teacher. So I'm listening to what he's saying and I'm pondering it, and I'm wondering, is that the way I feel? Is that the way I think? Is that, no? And he said, don't accept it just because I say it. Don't accept it just because it's written in some holy books. He said, but put it up against in your life, into your experience. Does this bring you more suffering, or does it bring you more release? Now, if I'm already suffering and I'm looking to hear something, but when I hear that, it also brings me suffering, then I've got suffering on both sides, right? And so I already know that this suffering is true suffering. This one feels like suffering, but I haven't been doing this one as long as I've been suffering with the way I'm thinking now. So what would happen if I try to apply a different way of looking at this situation? Let me give it a chance. I mean, I had this one 20 years. I've been holding this suffering 20 years, thinking about it this way or recalling that. What if he says that arouse compassion for the very one, who treats you bad? Now, I've already been suffering because of how I have been trying to work with that situation. And this doesn't sound better. This sounds worse. When he talks about arousing compassion, being kind to the one who's not kind to you, like, that don't make a bit of sense. But what I'm doing hasn't made a bit of sense either. And I've been doing that one for 20 years. Can I give this one a 30-day try? Because he doesn't mind you giving it a try. Because if you try it for 30 days, you will see something shift inside of you. Not even 30 days, 20 days, not even 20 days, 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, 1 week, not even 1 week, 1 day. And if one will just give the Dharma even 5 minutes and say, that might be true. Let me put it to the test. And we will see a difference. We will know whether it's Dharma or not. Sometimes we can see something's true, but like, I'm just not ready. Then we can understand that. that there's no fault, there's no harm in that. It's just like, I'm not ready for that right now. But what a relief it is to know that when I get ready, as Pani Deepa says, you know, when somebody comes to cry, have you suffered enough? I mean, that's the end of the conversation. Have you suffered enough? Then now I will put forth enough effort, enough energy to really give it a try. I mean, give it a good try. So he's asking us to do the opposite of what we have an inclination to do. He said that when this thought arises in us, that we have the opposite thought by which to abandon it. So he doesn't use words that's confusing, like if hatred arises, I have love by which, because like one is love and one is hatred. And I'm going to tell you, every expression of love is not love. And love in the ways that we understand love is not even the highest. That's why so many spouses kill their partners, you know. Because that love can be self-seeking, it can be jealous, it can be I love the way you love me, it could be, you know, I mean, so he doesn't use, he uses the word because you are experiencing an emotion, a feeling, a reflection, a thought, an understanding around a certain word. So he says, when anger arises, one has non-anger by which to subdue it. So that means that when anger arises in me, I am right there present with everything I'm feeling and experiencing in that moment. And I'm asking myself, what would be the opposite of this? Like if my head is spinning, you know, or if my I'm clutched and I'm clenched, what would be the opposite of that? What if I just stop and relax the body and bring the ease into the body? Just turn my attention away from whatever thing was making me angry. I'm just dealing with what's showing up in the lab, what's showing up in the body, what's showing up in the mind. He always says that. No, he doesn't always say that. He might say it a lot, but he doesn't always say it. You know, what is the exact opposite way to think and to feel and to experience? Now, I'm not saying that if your wife is beating you right at this moment, or your husband is beating you, I'm not sitting there and saying, let them beat you. You understand that, right? I don't have to explain that. But I am saying that he is letting us know that we are not impotent. We are not without power. So it's the exact opposite of a story we have been told, that we are impotent and that we are powerless. He says, we are not. It is a matter of arousing enough effort and enough willingness, mostly we're not willing, enough willingness to employ, to take up, to utilize the opposite response. It's equally available if we want to use it at that moment. And we find that the more we do it, the more we can. And in the beginning, we might not be able to do it at that moment. That's why he says, like, think about it while you're doing it. And when you know you like just, you stepping over that line, stop. But if you stepped over that line already when you think about it, then use that to help you catch yourself sooner. That's all. And so that's why I love this, that even when I failed today, I didn't fail because I couldn't satisfy a customer, you know, that they couldn't buy the things that they wanted, you know. But I failed because for a minute my joy in the moment dropped. So many good things happening in the moment. No need for us to take one thing, just leave everything in its own square. No need to take one thing and let it like plaster across your whole reality. He's teaching us to compartmentalize, to let everything be in its place, and not feel that anything is a threat. Our response is based on feeling threatened by so many things. And he's saying no need to feel threatened, even when an emotion arises. He said we can like just turn right to that emotion and we can speak peace to ourselves. Nobody has to calm us down. We can calm ourselves down. And this is our practice. And when you have one little success with it, it is so empowering. Not just for yourself, but people see, people notice. So even in your correction, in your failure, in your acknowledgement, you know, in your falling off and getting back on the path, it is such an encouragement. If you can hold it that way, if you see it that way. This week, because we're doing this 50 weeks, right? And I'd like for you to just catch yourself each time your mood shifts, your energy shifts in response to something. To reflect on it. Well, first, to reflect or to empower yourself to incline your thoughts in a certain way, you know, by, he says, keep unarisen, unwholesome states from arising. He says, subdue arisen, unwholesome states. He said, produce unarisen, wholesome states, and then keep those arisen, wholesome states from diminishing. That's your task for this week. To look and see which of the four am I in right now. So if you're thinking a negative thought, you have the opposite of that by which to subdue it. Yeah. If you're thinking a positive thought, you can have the strength to hold and continue to think it, to strengthen it, in other words. If you are not really thinking about anything, you can put something on your mind. You can like just take one little phrase of truth and think about it all day. Or you can find the fault in an unwholesome thought that will allow you to abandon it. And just see how Just see what happens. That's the experiment. He calls these 4 right efforts, but they also produce power. And one starts to be responsible for their own life. But not only that, one starts to find a way that they can live so successfully that they can easily hold the things in life that are that used to really get us down. We'll see ourselves in a new way. There will be an internal strength that rises up, like out of our own belly, a kind of living water that can nourish us and that can nourish others without even trying. How wonderful it is that we encountered the Dharma in this life. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you